What's up, man? I want to talk about. Well, first thing I want to talk about is me and my guys, Zone, Botanologist, and hopefully we can get Rollo in it. We thinking about. Well, not thinking about. We putting together a podcast for you guys. We're gonna be talking about all types of sports. You know what I'm saying? Boxing, basketball, football. Any type of sports. We probably gonna be hitting on other topics, but just a podcast with guys. You know, just conversating about a lot of different things. But yeah, I want to talk about the title. Y'all see the title? Fighters should fight more and why. And I'm not picking on Keith Thurman, but he's one of the reasons why I'm making this video. Is because fighters should fight more because you can stay in shape throughout the year better. You can be more closer to your fighting weight. I always believe that a fighter should be within 10 pounds of their fighting weight. It's irresponsible to walk around 15, 20, 25 pounds over your fighting weight. That's irresponsible. That's why a lot of these fighters need these 8-week training camps, because it's more of a weight losing training camp for these guys. They need the 8 weeks to lose the weight. You should never go into a training camp losing weight. The concentration should not be on losing weight, because this is what happens. When you know that you're so far overweight and you have to come down to a certain amount of weight, and you have to make sure that you hit that weight on the weigh-in and not overwork yourself or be too dried out, most of your focus on the training camp becomes the weight. It doesn't become the strategy. Working on your boxing skills, working on cutting off the ring, working on your jab, working on your combinations, working on your foot movement, foot placement, your head movement. It doesn't become that. It becomes more of, man, I hope I make weight and all this stuff. I'm not saying Keith, and I'm not just gonna pick on Keith Thurman about it, but I'm just using Keith Thurman as an example. It's a lot of fighters that walk around over their fight weight. Keith Thurman, if you see him outside of fighting, if he don't have a fight coming up, Keith Thurman is pudgy. And what happens is, throughout Keith Thurman's career, he's been having injuries. You know what I'm saying? He had injuries before he had the elbow surgery, and he came back and hurt his hand. He had injuries before that. I believe he had a shoulder or somewhere up in there. What happens to your body is, as you fluctuate in weight, you know what I'm saying? Most of these fighters go into the training camp 15, 20, 25 pounds, sometimes drastic 30 pounds over their fighting weight. And now you're asking your body to perform at a high level that you wanted to perform in, but your body is not at that level. Your body is not in shape to go into training camp and start throwing punches and start lifting weights. Whatever you do, whatever kind of workout regimen you do, your body is not in shape for it, because you're overweight. You're over your fighting weight. What happens is, you break down your body at your body's most vulnerable state. And that's like, let's say, okay, Keith Thurman fight at 147. Let's say he started his training camp at 170. Oh, probably 175. Who knows? Probably 180. Let's just say, this is be conservative. Let's just say he started his training camp off at 170. And now he's tearing his body down when his body is at its most vulnerable, because his body is out of shape. And now it's like they're doing it backwards. They're coming in out of shape, and then they have an 8-week training camp to where every week they get more and more and more in shape. And then their body blossoms into this, guy that can go out and box 12 rounds and be real physical, and throw a lot of punches. But if fighters come into training camp 10 pounds over their fighting weight instead of 20 pounds, 25 pounds, now you coming in and you ready to go. You're going to naturally lose that 10 pounds as the training camp goes on, because most of these guys have 8-week training camps. But my solution to this is, y'all fighters just need to fight more. That's what y'all do. And a lot of fighters cry about money and all this stuff. You can make more money the more you fight. You can make more money. You fight 4 times a year. It's 12 months in a year. You fight every 3 months, depending on how the fight goes, especially the guys at the top. The guys at the top should, because they're quote unquote supposed to be better fighters, right? So that they supposed to be able to protect themselves better. They supposed to be able to go in the ring and perform better at a higher level than any other guys. So if you fought four times a year, I'm not expecting you to fight 4 killers. By no means. You know what I'm saying? You could fight 1 killer, one person in the top 10, a mid-level guy, and you could fight a Rod Saka of what Danny Garcia fought. But you can't fight a Rod Saka if you're only fighting 2 times a year. That's unacceptable. I can't support that. That's why we talked about Rod Saka with Danny Garcia. Because if you're only gonna fight 2 times a year, you can't give me Rod Saka. I can't. That's unacceptable as a boxing supporter. Now, if you're fighting 4 times a year and one of those fights is a Rod Saka, good. I'm all good with that, because you cannot. I'm not gonna ask a fighter to fight 4 killers. You know, every year you fighting 4 killers. You know what I'm saying? Get that 1 killer in. Get that guy in the top 10. Get a mid-level person probably in the top 20, and then you can fight a Rod Saka. And then another thing, you would stay in shape. You wouldn't have to have an 8-week training camp. Do you think the fighters back in the day that fought 10 times a year, 12 times a year, some of them, they didn't have time for an 8-week training camp? They didn't have it. It's impossible to have an 8-week training camp for every fight. The reason why they can fight like that, because they stayed in shape all year round, because they fought constantly. If you fight constantly, you do not have to have an 8-week training camp. 8-week training camps is for undisciplined people, man. Plain and simple. Undisciplined fighters need 8 weeks to get ready for a fight. You know what I'm saying? And that's why a lot of these fighters have these injuries. You take more damage in your body during the training camp than you do in the fight. You take a lot of damage. You take a lot of trauma. You take a lot of punches in sparring. How many sparring, how much sparring you doing, considering how much sparring you doing? You take a lot of punishment in that. And then you working out all the workouts that you have to do. Just think about if you started off the year in January, you had a 4-week training camp for your first fight in that turn of that year. You had like a 4 or 5 week training camp. Now, all you have to do is fight in 3-month intervals, or however it goes. If you have a quick fight, then you can have a quick turnaround. You can stay in shape and not have to go through the rigorous of the training camp and the strain you put on your body, because that's where the most strain comes from. Now, I boxed, but I didn't box at the level Keith Thurman and fought at, But I fought at, lower level competition. I had training camps. The training camp was more exhausting than the fight. I was beat up, hands hurting every day, because you hitting the heavy bag every day. You hitting the speed bag. You hitting the mitts. You doing push-ups. You running miles. You sparring a lot. You know what I'm saying? And that takes a toll on your body. If you fought every 2.5 to 3 months, your fights itself will keep you in shape. And like I said, a lot of these fighters have to get. I'm not saying a fighter have to be a hermit and don't eat junk food and nothing. I'm not saying that, but you just got to be more disciplined and stay within 10 pounds of your fighting weight. So you won't be putting a lot of strain on your body, having all these elbow injuries, back injuries, shoulder injuries, leg injuries. You know what I'm saying? Because your body is fluctuating up and down in weight drastically for a lot of these guys. I remember Earl Spence said he walk around at 180, 185. Man, you walk around at 180, 185 and you fight at 147? That's ridiculous. That's like insane. Sean Porter, his last fight versus Ugas, he couldn't make weight. He had to take all his clothes off. He had to fart. He had to shit and all this stuff to lose the weight. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, if you and I thought Sean Porter stayed in, because Sean Porter doesn't really look blowed up like I see Earl Spence and I see Keith Thurman, I see some of these other guys. Sean Porter always looked like he's in fairly good shape. I think what's happening with Sean Porter, if Sean Porter stays in shape in between fights like I think he does, he's just growing out the weight. You know what I'm saying? And Sean Porter is not going to be able to fight at welterweight much longer. He may got one more fight that he can probably maybe 2 more fights that he can fight at welterweight. His body just saying no to him. And when your body say no, that's it. You know what I'm saying? If your body say no, and then you in a fight and it's round 6 and you in a hard, vigorous fight and you trying to pull down deep in 7, 8, 9, 10 rounds on the back end of the fight, and you find out you don't have nothing else, it's because you exhausted your body at that weight class. And I think Shawn Porter's like 31, 30, and that's the time when your body metabolism slows down and you don't lose the weight as easy as you did in your 20s and your teens. But yeah, that's my thing, man. Fighters just need to fight more. You fight more, you stay in shape. You don't have to go through an 8-week training camp. You fight 4 times a year, fight every 3-month intervals. I'm not asking you to fight a killer every fight. You fight one killer, you fight a guy in the top 10, guy in the top 20, and then you can fight a Ross Soccer in for your 4th fight. Just long as you're active. You can't. Who's your pick? Shawn Porter or Errol? I'm going to give Errol Spence the slight edge, but Shawn Porter, I believe Shawn Porter can win the fight. All those guys at the top of welterweight division, they can all beat each other, in my opinion. But it's hard to convince someone that Shawn Porter can beat Errol Spence because Errol Spence hasn't lost. So, it's hard to convince. I'm not going to try to convince you if you're picking Earl. But I got Earl's slight edge. I got Earl in the slight edge. But it's a real good fight. I don't expect Shawn Porter to fight Spence like he fought Ugas. I think when Shawn Porter fights Spence, he's going to try to be more physical and going to try to fight more on the inside against Spence. He's not going to be on the outside against Spence. He's going to be more on the inside against Spence. I just think Shawn Porter just believed that he could outbox Ugas. And to me, he didn't even outbox Ugas. I thought Shawn Porter won the fight, but I thought it was real close. What's up, man? What's up? And I'm going to say this. In closing, fighters just need to fight more, man. Hey, thanks for coming through, man. I'm going to come back with another one later. I'm probably finna... I'm